They won't give you a heart container, but they might drain a few of yours. For this list, I'm counting down the top 10 mini-bosses in 3D Legend of Zelda games. These are the foes that are typically encountered in the middle of a dungeon, guarding the item needed for progression. The mini-bosses often seem to be forgotten about and go unrecognized, so I've taken the time to list what I believe are the best ones based on personality, challenge, the atmosphere of the arena, and how fun they are to fight. Number 10. GEKKO and Mad Jelly, Majora's Mask. This frog-like mini-boss uses its giant sticky goop to try to capture and assault you. Be sure to be far away from the goop's shadow, as the radius will get much bigger when it lands. You'll have to maneuver relatively quickly to land an ice arrow on the Mad Jelly before it drops to make GEKKO vulnerable, where you'll then chase him around a field of the scattered jelly fragments. This fight earns points for its frantic and strategic elements. You don't want to be violated by the clutches of the goop, so be careful. Number 9. Ook, Twilight Princess. There's something greatly satisfying about carving up a brainwashed baboon's behind. It feels even more rewarding since you first meet the boomerang-tossing ape causing mischief earlier in the dungeon, so the fight is serving some justice instead of just being another battle with no pretense. After the fight, you find out Ook was just a victim of a nasty parasite, and he atones for the trouble he caused later in the dungeon by helping you defeat the main boss. No other mini-boss has displayed so much character development. Number 8. Dead Hand, Ocarina of Time. This may very well be the most surprising thing to slip past the E rating. Take long, far-reaching, regenerating hands, add a pale white, blood-stained, slug-looking zombie creature with an unhinging horse mouth, and put it in a room made entirely out of human skulls, and you have the creepiest mini-boss fight in the series. Fighting this monstrosity is unsettling whether a kid or an adult. Dead Hand in reality is an easy fight, but the terrifying atmosphere and presentation more than make up for that. Number 7. Big Octo, Ocarina of Time. You know as soon as you enter the arena that it's not going to be as easy as it looks to get that spiritual stone. After what may be the longest introduction to a mini-boss fight in any Legend of Zelda game, the anticipation pays off with a fast-paced fight of a giant Octorok with a sad clown face, whose weak spot is in his rear end. Getting to Big Octo's weak spot is tricky, however. You can chase him down and risk damage from the spikes, but it's easier to stun him with a boomerang with some precise timing. Either way, it's a good time when it's Big Octo time. Number 6. SCERVO and DREADFUSE, Skyward Sword. These two are essentially the same fight, but I've coupled them together since DREADFUSE is slightly more challenging, and SCERVO has a slightly better atmosphere, making them roughly equal. One of the most challenging fights on this list. Some players might not like it for its unforgiving difficulty, while others might greatly appreciate the intense pace, the thrill of the claustrophobic arena, and even the cinematic changes as the fight progresses. SCERVO and DREADFUSE are also unique in that they don't have a given amount of HP. You just have to shove them to the edge 3 times, and then you'll watch them fall to their deaths. Number 5. Darknut, Twilight Princess. Darknuts have had many incarnations throughout the series, including the Nintendo 64 equivalent, the Iron Knuckle, but the Twilight Princess version topples the competition. Seeing fragments of the armor scatter across the arena with each hit is very satisfying, and the second half of the fight with the more nimble chainmail Darknut switches up the pattern, forcing you to think before mindlessly slashing. An overall fun fight until his last breath. Number 4. Dark Hammer, Twilight Princess. Take the claustrophobic aspect from the SCERVO and DREADFUSE fight, but add a little more room to move, and you have a mini-boss that's more fun and still just as challenging. Use your claw shot to escape Darkhammer's whirling ball and chain, but don't be too hasty or else you'll fly face first into the bludgeoning ball. This fight has an excellent atmosphere as well due to the ominous presentation. A suit of armor inexplicably comes to life, with a reptilian tail as its weak spot. It's a little eerie thinking what might be under that helmet. Number 3. Dark Link, Ocarina of Time. Easily the most notorious mini-boss fight in the whole Legend of Zelda franchise, for the deep, echoing voice and almost unfair AI, which mirrors every slice of the Master Sword. It's best to approach Dark Link with the Megaton Hammer or Big Goron Sword. The environment around you is arguably the most interesting part of the fight. A simulation room with no visible walls, nondescript landmarks, and a disappearing reflection. If these rankings were based on atmosphere alone, Dark Link would win hands down. Unfortunately, this fight loses points on the fun category, because he'll either be unbearably hard or insultingly easy, and nowhere in between. Still, conquering yourself is one of the most exciting parts of the series. Number 2. Igos Duikana and Servants, Majora's Mask. Like Darknuts, Stalfos have had many incarnations throughout the different games, but the most interesting comes in Majora's Mask with the King of Ikana and his 2 henchmen. The first half of the fight makes you take the environment into consideration while dealing with the very easy servants, while the second half with the king really picks up in challenge. Igos Duikana has a variety of attacks, including one that seems to be only avoidable using the Goron roll, so the fight never feels slow or stale. Once you defeat him, you are rewarded with a charming cutscene of the skeleton ghosts? I won't question it. Number 1. WIZZROBE, the Wind Waker. Sure, this mini-boss doesn't have the most personality, the arena doesn't have the most memorable atmosphere, and it's not the most challenging fight on the list, but the Red WIZZROBE fight is leagues ahead of the other mini-bosses in one thing, and that's fun. It's just a joy to fight this guy when it comes down to it. Absolute chaos ensues with a constant enemy generating, and hardly a second goes by where you're not driving your sword into something. You do have the option of ending the fight quickly with your arrows, but it's so much more enjoyable to wait for the Red WIZZROBE to spawn at ground level amidst the hectic danger, and hit him with your sword. This all-out brawl can be as fun and as long as you want it to be, and for that, the WIZZROBE in red takes home the gold. Did your favorite mini-boss make the cut? If not, which ones do you anticipate fighting the most? Be sure to stick around for more videos like this. Thanks for watching. Bing bang goodbye.